Hi, my name is Ken Hibino, and in this series we're going to be building a medium clone web application with Ruby on Rails. You can check out my demo app by going to this URL, and I'll also include the URL of my GitHub repo in the show notes. So let's create our app. So I'll type Rails new, and I'll call it my app. Give it -t flag since we're using RSpec. And we're going to be using Postgres for database. So we'll give database PostgreSQL. Make sure you don't have any typos and enter. Alright, so let's seed into that. And we're going to initialize our Git repository. So git init, git add initialize repository. Alright, so open up the text editor and we'll add some gems to our gem file. Let me delete these comments. Alright, so within this development and test group, we'll add gem RSpec Rails and specify the version number, which is 3.4.0. And we'll create another group for test. And we'll add Capybara gem. Alright, so run bundle. And run rakedb create. Alright, so if you check Rails generator, we have this RSpec install command that we can run. So we'll run that. Rails generate RSpec install. And it'll create few files and one directory. And these are the configuration files for RSpec. And we'll edit that first. So go back and then open up spec Rails helper. And since we're going to be using some support files, we'll uncomment that. And we're not going to be using fixtures, we're going to be using factory girl. So we'll delete this lines. Alright. And we'll set this to false. Alright, so go back to the terminal, and if you run rake now, we don't have any examples. But RSpec seems to be working, so that's great. So let's commit that. Alright. So let's write our first test to get us going. So I'll open up. Oh, before we do that, we have to make a few directories under spec. So we're gonna need spec models, spec controllers, support, and features. All right. So we're gonna write our first feature test. So I'll call it user visits homepage spec.rb. And the first thing we need to do is to require that configuration file. So we'll add require Rails helper, and let's write our first feature, which is user visits homepage. And so these are Capybara syntax, these features and scenarios, and you can actually write some Capybara statements within this block. So we'll visit root path, and we'll expect page to have content, and I'm gonna name this app my medium. Actually, my app. All right. So go back to the terminal, and if you run RSpec, we have our first failing test. And the error message says undefined local variable or method root path. Since we haven't defined any route in our route file, so let's edit that. So we'll add root and call it homes show. Run that spec again, and we get different error message. This time it says uninitialized constant homes controller. So let's create that controller. And run that again. And it says the action show could not be found for homes controller. So we'll add that. Oops. And now we get missing template for homes show. So let's create that view template. But before we do that, we need to create that directory, view and homes. So we're going to create app views homes show.html.erb. So we'll just add h1 says my app. And if we run the test again, it's passing. So, and we're going to be using this TDD process to drive our development. Process, and this is our first passing test, so we'll just commit that. Oops, forgot to add it. Alright, so we have successfully set up our testing environment and our app. So in the next tutorial, we're going to be creating some resource. Thank you for watching.